evening and welcome to Being Black and Craft, where we don't apologize for recognizing our influence on craft beer. This is Angie, the undeniable vixen, your host. We have a great guest this evening, but let's start off with a little bit of beer news. So first up, we have Vivian Ward with the Big Experience, and she is going to have a Juneteenth celebrating 3 years of community-driven beer collaboration for honoring men of the 90s R&B. So do you have your favorite 90s R&B song, singer, or group? Thank you to all the breweries who called to build the community, Blue Jay Brewing and Shoehorn Brewing Company. So Vivian has been doing this collaboration. She usually does a collaboration beer and does some type of take for Juneteenth, which I really think is really exciting. So she's did last year was the women of 90s hip hop and R&B. And so now it's a men's turn. So it's men's turn to get out there. So if you're not following the beer experience, please do Vivian Ward and see what this tribute to men's 90s R&B music is going to be. It's going to be good beer, good music, good vibes. Then, let me get my phone here. If you are not aware, you've been living under a rock, you know of Celeste Beatty, and she is doing a beer tour coming up very soon. So let me get my little note here. All over it looks like she's going. So the Harlem Renaissance Wit 125th Street IPA Beer Tour at Whole Foods Market, where we're raising a toast to Women's History Month and our 25th anniversary. Let's vibe Uptown Harlem to Fort Greene, Brooklyn, with a true taste of Harlem experience, whether you're a beer enthusiast or flavor explorer. Our Harlem Brew Soul Cookbook has the perfect pairing tips waiting for you. Bring your book along for signing and let's connect. So I know that I've mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again. Celeste has a book, and I've been trying to follow her down, trying to find. I knew I was going to see her when I was in London, but we didn't cross paths to get my book signed for her with her. But if you're in the New York area, go and check her out. Make sure that you're following Harlem Brewing to find the location, the nearest Whole Foods location, and say hello. Then our friend of the show, the liquor connoisseur, this is really true. Most people drink bourbon wrong. If you want to experience bourbon differently, book a liquor connoisseur bourbon experience. We host guided bourbon tasting events where you can learn how to swill, sniff, sip, and savor a truly taste of bourbon. Go to their IG account and make sure that you look at the latest posts. They have this post right here and comment bourbon, and they will send you the details of how to book a tasting. Drink to remember, not to forget. Then we have this delicious watermelon mojito from Vine Street Brewing. Fresh off the tap, it's called Introducing Brew Hers of I-70. This watermelon mojito wheat beer was brewed with our friends at 6 Mile Bridge Beer out in St. Louis in celebration of Women's History Month. From grain to glass, you can even see the can artwork, not featured here, but you can go and see it on their website. This brew was led by women who mean business. We're proud to serve a beer made with such intention, collaboration, and straight up skills. Available at Vine Street and at 6 Mile Brewing Bridge. And that's all the news I have. So tonight we're celebrating Women's History Month. So with a dynamic storyteller, entrepreneur, a creative voice in the beer world, Stephanie Grant, founder of shelovescraft, Stephanie has built a platform that blends craft beer culture and community through powerful writing, storytelling. So tonight we're talking to her about her journey, her wins, the challenges, and life beyond the craft. Stephanie, welcome.
Thank
Thank
you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. I'm really very excited to talk to you. I had all kinds of thoughts in my head because we've met and we've talked before again, just like with Leslie, but I want to get to know a little bit more about you. So I guess let's just kind of start at the beginning. So you built an incredible platform, She Loves Craft. So what was the moment that you realized craft beer storytelling was something that you truly wanted to pursue?
Oh, um, I I remember it. So I was at a job in from like 2012 to 2016. And in that time I was there, I started like loving craft beer. I started drinking it. I started being obsessed with it. And I was at already like storytelling is just always been part of who I am. I used to write and tell stories as a kid. And so at that job, I was sort of telling stories about, I was helping recommend home service contractors. And so I was telling the stories about these home service contractors, which a lot of them have businesses similar to beer in a way where it's like their mom and pop shop that started from humble beginnings and they grew into this massive company. And um, so I was already doing like storytelling and writing, and I was loving beer. And I was like, I think I want to work in this industry. And I was like, what would I do? I was like, I know I don't want to be a brewer. Like, I know I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And like, cause I also was watching my husband homebrew and he was already drilling in my head that brewing was mostly cleaning. And I was just like, that don't sound like that's something I would enjoy. But I love the product and I appreciate the people who make it. And I was like, what if found a way to pair my writing skills, my natural talent, something that I studied in school, like how can I bring those talents to the beer industry? And so I was like, I'll write about beer. Like I found out there were beer writers. I think L. Sharpton had came on my radar and I was like, wow, he's in Atlanta. And I was like, oh, this is an avenue I can pursue. And I was told by a friend of mine, Nabias, he's like a mentor of mine, and he's been like at the very beginning of my journey. And I was like, hey, I want to do this thing because he was writing about beer, but he also writes about sports. And I think he mostly does sports now.
Mm-hmm.
But he was like, you have to figure out what your lane is going to be. And I was like, okay. And I remember having the same conversation with Elle, and he was like, what do you want to cover? I was like, people. And then I was thinking about what Nabias was saying. I was like, I'm going to talk about women in beer because like apparently there's not a lot of coverage there. And then I was like, and of course I'm going to cover like diversity in beer, just period. And so that's how I got started on this journey. And that was, I think I wrote my first piece in like 2017. And it has been a very interesting journey since that first piece. I'm in a place now where I dreamed of, but wasn't really sure of how I would get here. And now I'm here. And it's just been an amazing ride. It's been hard, but it's been amazing.
And it sounds like it's definitely been a journey, but it's something that, you know, when you find something that you love, especially something that you went to school for, that you're able to do, and it's something that you're, you know, you've always been passionate about, I'm sure it makes it worthwhile.
Yes, absolutely. It's funny you say that because I was having a conversation with someone a few weeks ago and they were like, oh, you probably have like a thankless job. And I was like, no, I was like, actually, people like really appreciate the work that I do. And I was like, I'm very grateful from what I was originally doing, like writing stories about the Black community, about diversity, about women, like writing those pieces and highlighting people who didn't think they would be seen in this industry to giving people help with social media now. Like I have felt appreciated along the way. And I mean, it's very humbling for someone to give you their life story and you take that and you write it down for them and you talk about them like it is a gift, and I treat it like that. I don't take any of my interviews for granted, because it is so important for me to be able to capture someone as authentically as I possibly can. So yeah, the fact that I've been able to do that and people appreciate how I highlight them is yeah, it's great. It's been great.
I can really, I guess I'm thinking when you're probably writing a piece for someone,
Mm.
and they're having this discussion, they're telling you all this, this information that you're just soaking up. And then when you reveal it to them, it's like, has anyone said, I didn't know it was this interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
You made me
Yeah.
sound like I'm really interesting.
Yeah. I know. I have conversations with people. I just finished interviewing different tap rooms across the country for this article I've been doing for the New Brewer for like 6 years. And it's been really interesting doing this article year after year because I can hear the industry changing out of their mouths. I can hear where people are. And so no matter how busy I get, like I always want to do that article. And it was so like there were times when I was talking to people and I was like, well, what made you move to Wyoming? And I just find people interesting. So I think that kind of comes through. Like a lot of stuff that we do, we think, oh, well, I just do these things. And I'm very guilty of it. Like I have been able to accomplish some amazing things in my life. And I'm just like, okay, yeah, I did that. But now I'm going to move on to the next thing because I'm ambitious and I got stuff to do. So yeah, it's people are interesting. I think even if you think your life is boring, like it's probably not to somebody else. Like
Right.
I think that there's so much in the beer industry that's super interesting still to me to this day. And I'm also a very curious person. So I think it goes hand in hand.
Mm-hmm. So when you're getting ready for a piece, what is your process? How detailed is it? How
Yeah.
what is it?
So I like to start with the goal of the piece. Like what am I trying to, or not necessarily what I'm trying to get across, but what would I like to know, or what would I like to for people to get out of it? So if it's a person, and I don't really do much writing these days, but or I shouldn't say that. I don't do many profiles these days. This article is one of the ones I'll keep doing, but I've sort of hung up my journalism hat. But I will, if it's a person, I want to know what is it that I want to know about them, or if it's something like I wrote a piece about drinking while Black, and it was like, what message do I want to get across? So if it's something like personal like that. And then I just think about like what are the questions that need to be asked in order for me to get at the thing? So what are the questions that I want to ask this person? And then I put those together and I just have a conversation. I also realize, like, I guess this is not something a lot of people do, but like when you're talking to someone and you have like a list of questions, sometimes you got to go off script because sometimes people will say something that's so interesting. You're like, well, that's not my next question, but I want to talk about this. Like, tell me more about that thing. And I just get like really into the conversation. Recording the conversation is key because that allows me to be like focused and right there with the person. And then from there, like I just start vomiting out thoughts and I just get all my thoughts out. And sometimes those thoughts come to me when I'm in front of my computer, and sometimes they come to me when I'm walking the dog. So I just capture all of that and then I try to massage it into something that looks good. And I spend a lot of time with it until I'm like, I got to give this to the editor because if I can't continue to tweak this. So,
So you're
yeah.
like Saza. Yeah, Saza. It's a Saza. The musical artist.
SZA?
SZA. Oh, my brain just went, yeah, because I know that on her first album, they had to go and pull it from her because she just kept on writing
Yeah.
and writing and writing.
Yeah.
Okay.
You need a, if you are creative and you don't have like you have a deadline for when the thing needs to be out, but you need to like give yourself your own personal deadline for when you'll stop touching it. Because especially if you have to hand it over to someone else, like that's what the editor is for. They're there to, and they're always like, I always have to tell myself. I just had to tell myself about a piece I did, because I've started doing some, which I'll look out for this, some writing for the Brewers Association talking about social media. And I was like, okay, we're done here. That's why you have an editor. We're done here. You cannot tweak this article anymore. Let it go. Because no matter how long you look at it, there's always going to be something you miss. There's always going to be something that you could have explained better, but you need a second pair of eyes in order to figure that out.
Okay. So I know that you have a new venture, but I wanted to really touch on one last thing because I remember so vividly. You earned recognition for awards for your work. And one of the last ones that I remember is, did you win a James Beard Award?
I was nominated for a James Beard Award.
Okay, you were nominated.
Mm-hmm.
But the piece was, please tell our audience what the piece was.
Yeah. So the piece was about, I cannot remember the name. Oh, hold on. Hidden Heritage, a search for culture, heirlooms, and my grandmother's red rice recipe. And I'll tell you, I have been writing that. I wrote that article for more than, like, I have been writing that article probably for a decade. Like, for real. Like, because I was writing it in here.
Uh-huh.
I had been thinking about this thing for a while, and I was like, I got to figure out. I feel like it was first I had to figure out the recipe, and I was like, once I figured this recipe out, then I got a story to tell. And I like, and sometimes I say this stuff to myself, and I'm like joking around. Like, I'm actually kind of surprised that this article came to life, but stuff started clicking into place, and I was like, "Ooh, it's time. I gotta actually write this article." And I was so nervous about pitching it because it had nothing to do with beer. And it appeared on Good Beer Hunting. It had nothing to do with beer. But like, I pitched it and I was nervous as heck. And I'm pitching it directly to the editors. They're not like reading this on the sheet of, they're like, well, since you're in the meeting, you should just go ahead and pitch it to us. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, I really don't want them to turn me down because I wanted them to publish it. I wanted to work with Claire Bullen. Like, she's amazing. She edits with such grace. And I knew that she would be perfect to edit my piece. And yeah, like, when I tell you, like, I will just write down sentences, and I have like a keep note on my phone with just sentences of stuff. And I started one with this, and I wrote that article for a long, like, the actual physical writing where I was like out with my dog and thinking of sentences. I wrote that, like, it was just, stuff would just come to me. And I just like try to capture as best as I could. And then I had all these notes, and I was like, okay, now we got to actually put this together into a coherent story. So again, like, putting it all together, massaging it. But like, I don't want to say I don't have another James Beard nominated piece in me. Like, I wouldn't get another James Beard nod, but that piece was just so special to me because of, I mean, this is something that I had been thinking about since my grandmother got sick. And I talked about it in there, but like, we went to visit her in the home that she was staying in. And it was like very upsetting. I could kind of feel myself getting upset now. Like, seeing her and her not being there. Dementia is a hell of a disease. It's a hell of a disease.
Yes.
And to see her and her not be there, and I was like, I have lost this thing that she tried to give me. I have lost it. I have forgotten it. And she can't even come and like save me from like, I just knew pieces. I remember pieces of us cooking this dish together. And when I got, and anyone who's been following me for a long time, I love me some Toni Tiffany Martin. And when she came out with her book Jubilee, I told everybody to buy it. My copy has tape on it because I've used it so much. And I even had the opportunity for her to sign it. She signed it for me. I told her about my article and how and she was so kind and she read it and she loved it. And I mean, stuff like that is wild. Like hearing me say that out my mouth, I'm like, this is what I mean. Like I have done some amazing things, and then I'll be like, okay, now we got to go on to the next task. But I'm grateful for you having me on here to talk about this stuff because it's reminding me of all of these things, these wonderful things I've had in my life. And that piece was amazing. Like the writing process, like taking the time to honor my grandmother and the gift that she gave to me, the idea that I felt like I didn't have any heirlooms to like hold on to, but I do. I have so many, and they come in food. They come in the language. They come in all these other ways that, I can't take it to Antique Roadshow and get money for it, but that doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, I loved hearing that story. I remember listening to it. I was a definite good bee hunting listener for a long time. And so I still miss it because all of y'all were very powerful writers and storytellers. So I thank you for that. But so now that you kind of put up the hat for as far as writing. So basically what you're doing is social media training, or what are you doing now?
I'm doing I would say a little bit of dabbling in different places. So social media management was the first thing that I rolled out. And now I'm looking for how do I help more breweries, because I can only manage so many accounts. But how can I help more breweries with their marketing, their social media presence? Because I see so many, as like from being a craft beer lover, from being a journalist, interviewing people, I stalk people online. I used to stalk people online for a living. Like that's part of journalism. Like you go and you see, what have you done? Like what interviews have you done before? Like what is your story? What have you shared online? And how can I add to that? You do all of that work. And I would come across profiles where I'm like, oh no, this isn't gonna work. Like I'm not learning anything about you, not even your brewery. And so I saw that. And part of, and it's funny to me now, because in grad school, we learned about social media, but I don't even think Instagram existed. I'm pretty sure Instagram did not exist. And there was Facebook pages. So I studied social media in school, but it's nowhere near where it is now. And I've always just had an interest in it and knew and kept up with things that were happening with it, what worked well and all of that stuff. And so then I was just like, okay, well, I need to do this. I need to help them with this. And so that's turned into, management. I have been doing some talks. I'm going to be in Minnesota next month to give a talk there. And I've been doing creating content for people. I've been doing a number of things, and I want to sort of transition into something where people feel like, hey, I have a social media person in my pocket. You might have a team, you might have one person on the team, whatever that may be. But if you need someone who's studied this for a long time and could cut through, honestly, a lot of the bullshit, because there's so much stuff that people are telling people about social media that's not that important. At the end of the day, it's about creating good content. you don't have to worry about like what time should I post this. If it's good, it's going to do well, period. Like
Mm,
that, like focusing on just making good content is the most important thing. And I want to help alleviate some of the stress that people feel. And as someone who's worked in a brewery doing social media, I know how stressful that job can be. I know. So I have, I guess, sort of taking other parts of my schooling and my interests and pivoted into this other realm.
oh wow. Yeah, that's definitely needed. And you know, I feel like probably some of the rules that I even use are probably very archaic. Um, but it's just like I don't know if I have the time to figure out what the new rules are supposed to be. So I do the same thing in hopes that it will, you know, I'll tweak it a little bit here and there,
Yeah.
but it's still the same kind of thing. And I don't want to overwhelm, but I don't want people to be bored either. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the caveat. That's like the thing that's like, okay, where I'm teetering, where do I go? But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's definitely something that's needed. So yeah, I'm sure you stay very busy with that, trying to get folks on the straight and narrow for that.
Yes, for
So
sure.
let me transition behind the work and accomplishments is
Mhm.
also real life, family, relationships, and personal growth. So let's talk about the other side of success. Can you share a time when something didn't hit a mark like you hoped it did? And what did you learn from that experience?
Oh, I mean, I have so many of those. I can't tell you how many times like I have put up some type of post that's like, um, hey guys, I'm launching this thing. I'm going to do this thing. And like everyone was excited. Like everyone was excited. And I was like, okay, so tomorrow when I drop it for real, it's like I'm gonna sell out. Like, I don't know, like my hopes be high.
Yes.
And then it's like two people, and I'm like, oh no. And you know, I what the lesson I have taken from all of that is like either it was not the right time, it was not the right thing. Like I like when I look at those moments, I'm like, okay, well that I know why that didn't do well. Or and I just like I examine it. And
Mhm.
all it is like, okay, well, this means that I would as I continue to drop things, I will get better and better and better because you can't like you're not always going to be do well with the first one.
Yeah.
And this has been across like I mean number of things like starting a new newsletter, starting a community, the share community. Like there have been so many instances of me trying stuff and then it not going the way I intended it to. And then, you know, like I have a little freak out. And then I'm like, okay, but like let's look at this. Let's take the emotions out of it and let's look at it from an objective point of view and let's see what went wrong and let's stick to the facts and let's
Mhm.
just, you know, like find a way to improve upon it later. So I guess the lesson is like try again and get better as you keep trying, but don't ever give up. Don't ever give up.
Okay. So craft beer spaces are sometimes it's kind of hard to navigate. So what challenges have you experienced as a Black woman telling stories in this industry? I'm sure you
Mm.
telling stories for yourself and telling stories for others would be something
Uh,
different.
I don't know. Like I will say that I feel I haven't well, no. I feel like a lot of the challenges that I have faced are one, of course, me versus me and me trying to make sure my mindset is where I need it to be in order for me to do the things that I want to do. And the other thing would be just they're not related to my identity. the
Mhm.
identity I would say is create is as a creative, and the things that I need as a creative to function, and being in spaces where, instead of being understanding that creativity is can be a very fickle and fragile thing, um, being treated like a robot, like I'm just here to pump out
Mm.
content, and that I'm not a person, that I don't have a life outside of this job, that, like, I need to have boundaries around what I do, because I do take care of my creativity like it's a baby. And not like, just making sure that it has what it needs. Does it have food? Does it have water? Has it been outside? Like, these are all the things that I make sure that I have in order for me to function well and to show up with the best ideas and to be able to execute on them.
Mm.
And being treated like I didn't need those things, that I could just keep going without any concern for me as a person, like that was hard. Um,
Yeah.
that was tough. And I mean, that's kind of why I do what I do now, because I have more control over my life, and I
Mhm.
can run my day the way I want to, and I can take care of myself the way I need to. And so, yeah, but I would say, fortunate enough to not um experience any adversity based um on my identity as a Black woman. And if people have kept me from things because of who I am, they can't though. Like, what I believe, like, what is for me is never gonna pass me by. So you're not, like, I joke with my friend, I was like, I'm God's favorite. Like, he's like, he has for me these things, and I shall receive these things. So, I mean, you
Never.
could try if you want to,
Mhm.
but I just believe I'm not I'm not going to be kept from the things that I want and the things that I desire.
I believe that. Definitely, definitely. So let me just pause for a second so we can
Mhm.
play a little bit of a game. So what we have here is leaves of wisdom. This is going to be a little bit of, I guess, of a thinking thing. So
Okay.
what I'm really wanting to do is taking 6 leaves of good truths that makes Stephanie grow. So it
Mm.
could be a sentence, a thought, or a motto that you might have. Just tell me some things that make you that these are true truths that are embedded in you. So
Okay.
first leaf.
Um, Actions speak louder than words.
Okay. Second leaf.
Mm, Being outside in nature is restorative and
Hmm.
needed.
Okay, so you're taking long walks with the pup. I
Yes,
thought.
ma'am, every morning, even in
Okay.
the rain. Mm-hmm.
Ooh, okay. Third leaf.
uh, I will always make time for my friends.
Hmm. Fourth leaf.
Um, oh, a good night's sleep is nothing to play with. Gotta have it.
Yes. Well, that makes Stephanie grow. I like that. I like that. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about work-life balance, but first, I guess I know that you're married,
Mhm.
and I'm curious because we live in a single life over here. How did
Mhm.
y'all meet?
Oh, yeah, that's a story. So we both went to the same college, and I pledged Zeta Phi Beta. He pledged Sigma Phi Beta Sigma, and so they're like brother and sister.
Mhm.
So we would spend a lot of time together. However, when he crossed, I was leaving, and I was like, I was fed up with Zetas, and I was like, y'all getting on my nerves. I am out of here. And I remember meeting him, and I was like, hey, welcome to the family. All right, well, bye. I'm going. I'm graduating in like 3 days or something, or maybe it was like a few weeks. And so that was like our first encounter. And I don't know what he thought about me then, but I was like, basically, I was gone in like a couple of weeks.
Uh-huh.
And so then I knew about him. He knew about me. And I think it was like Georgia State started they actually got a football team, and we started going to like gathering more, and I would see him more. But it really was Twitter that brought us together. We both,
Okay.
yeah, we both had jobs that required us to be up at the job at like 6. I had to be at work at 6 in the morning.
Mm.
It was rough. But we had every other Friday off, so the job had pluses. And he was a part of our early morning crew, and we would get up early in the morning and talk mess. And I just liked the things that he was saying, and I started like following for him. And then I don't know how we eventually like met up in person, but it was like right before Halloween, and we met up, and I was so nervous. I don't know why I was so nervous.
Uh-huh.
And we've been inseparable since. Like we've been inseparable since. Outside of like me traveling or him traveling, like we've been together. I think we've talked every day since then. That was in 2010. And
Wow.
yeah, he just like, I remember in those early days, I would be like, oh, I'm coming over to your place. And he'd be like, I was like, I gotta go home. He's like, well, you want me to come to your house with you? I was like, okay, yeah, come. And then like we would just go back and forth to each other's houses. And yeah, we just inseparable.
Oh,
And I
that's
still like, I tell him, I'm like, we've been together for a long time and you still don't get on my nerves. I mean, he gets on my nerves, but I still love him. So yeah, he's very special to me.
that's amazing. That's very cute. I love it. I love it. So how do you have how are you dealing with work life balance as far as like having those still dating, because I heard in marriage you're still dating, you're still having to
Yeah.
go, you're still making time. How are you doing that?
Yeah. So I try to work a 9 to 5 as much as possible so that my hours align with his hours. And I try to turn off work when we're together,
Okay.
but I am not always good at it because I
Mhm.
do believe that it could be another leaf that when you have an idea, you got to capture it. And you have to capture it in a way where you're going to remember what it is when you do have the time to actually explore it. And so, like I told you, like sentences be coming to me. Sentences come to me when I like, especially when I'm in a project. Like when I wake up, I'm like, oh yeah, I could write about that. So imagine like I'm kind of always working. I'm also a Capricorn, and Capricorns love to work. We love
Mhm.
to work. And I've always had some type of when we met, we started dating, I was in grad school. I've always had some type of side project. I was in grad school while working full-time job. Always had some type of side project. And so he helps bring balance to my life because he loves fun. He's a Leo. He loves fun. And
Mhm.
he loves me. He loves spending time with me. I was like, what? You love spending time with me? Okay, then all right, make time with you. Your love language is what is it? Quality time. Okay, let me.
Mhm.
So, I don't think that you can always have balance. There's going to be sacrifices, ups and downs. Like sometimes, like I am currently about this week, I'm hoping to bring on a virtual assistant to help offload some of my work so I can not feel like on all the time.
Okay.
Um, So having help helps a lot. But I think the main thing that helps with oh, sorry. So what I was going to say, because I haven't had one in a few months, I have been working a little bit later and been more preoccupied with things because I have a lot of work on my plate. And I've just had to communicate like, hey babe, like this is what it's going to look for the next few months. Because I think your partner deserves to know like, hey, I'm going to be working late, or I'm going to be like slightly focused on these things for a while. And it might mean that like when you talk to me, I might be thinking about that thing and might not catch the first few words you say. Like whatever it is, like I think communication is key. That should have been one of my leaves because yes, communication is key in
Mhm.
any relationship.
Yes.
And letting people know where you are, I think is important because things aren't always going to be in balance. Sometimes you're going to have to spend, especially I think as an entrepreneur, like when you're and I'm in the midst of building something new. Um, my brain is going like this constantly, and having the time, like I would love to be as present as possible, and I try to be as present as possible. That's something that I work on, but sometimes it's hard. You get an idea and you got to jot it down. You just have to like, hey, I'm sorry. I just need to step away for a minute. I'll be right back. Whatever the case may be. But yeah, it's just hard to,
Mm.
I think, keep it always balanced. So allowing myself the freedom to sacrifice here and there when I need
Yeah.
to.
And he probably has to feel the same way when he's watching the Cowboys.
Oh, well, that's kind of a sore subject right now in our household because he's just not a Cowboys fan anymore. He's a Falcons fan.
Oh, he he done gave up the ghost already.
Mm, mm. Well, he's a third generation, as far as I know, Cowboys fan. I was shocked, but like football season is over, so I having some time to heal from this betrayal. But
Oh, you're a Cowboys fan too.
yeah,
Okay. Well, I live in Dallas and I'm not a Cowboys fan.
I haven't been in Dallas. And I mean, there's a long story about why I'm a Cowboys fan, but I will
Well,
say this: Friday Night Lights is responsible for me being a Cowboys fan and a beer
really?
drinker.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm. They go
yeah,
hand in hand.
yeah. I get that. Okay, okay. Let's see. So is there one thing that you've learned about your partnership and building your career that's that you'd want to share? One like
Mm.
aspect.
Yeah, I think that one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is, and is one of the most recent, is action beats a lot. Like taking action can, hold on, let me think of the way to phrase this. Um, so I think when you're in a place and you feel like stuck and you're not sure where to go or what to do, and this is where I was like when Good Bear Hunting closed, a lot of my work was tied into Good Bear Hunting. And when I was left without that, I was just like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? And I wasn't sure where to go. I have a lot of passions. I have a lot of um, desire to do different things. I'm a super creative person. So I could really I mean, I've thought about everything from staying in beer to leaving beer to like starting like some type of food venture to, I mean, I've thought about all kinds of things, thought about going back to work. But I worked so hard to be here. And so I was like, nope, I'm not doing that. So that's off the table. So I had all these paths. And then I was just like, well, I can't sit here and continue to think about which would be the best path. I just have to start going. I just have to start walking. And I explained to my friends, I felt like I was lost in the woods. This
Mhm.
was my 2025. Last year was rough. I was lost in the woods and did not know how to get out. And I was
Mhm.
like, I just need to start walking. That's all I need. And then So by taking action, I found a solution to, or in a path on which to go. And it wasn't that I started walking and I was like, went right to social media for breweries. I was doing all of this, but I just kept going. So I think there's so much power in taking action and not sitting around trying to figure out the best way forward. I think you just have to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about having the best idea because you don't know what the outcome is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have to start. You just have to do it. And it might suck at first. I think about this even when it comes to creating content for people. They get scared about creating, and I'm like, just start. Like trying something new is hard, but you're not going to get better. You're not going to be like the person that you're admiring until you start. So just start.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to do it. So
Yeah,
action means a lot. Mm-hmm.
yeah, I can agree to that. Just kind of going ahead and taking a step forward, because if you're trying to like, okay, I'm going to make this plan, this big plan, because I'm like usually kind of like a planner,
Mm-hmm.
but then you get so bogged down with the minutia of it all, you end up not going anywhere. So
Yes.
I
Yes.
understand that. Yeah. Um, so let me ask you a couple of closing questions as we end our time tonight. So what moment in your journey with She Loves Craft that made you stop and say, this is exactly where I want to be?
Oh, yeah. I don't know if you can ask an ambitious person, this is exactly where I want to be, because I'm never where I really want to be. But no, that's not true. There are moments like, let me try to think of something that I was doing recently where I was like, oh my gosh, this is a pinch me moment. Working with Allagash was like
Okay.
a wild. And like a few years ago, they invited me and my friend to come up to the brewery and visit them in person, because at that time I had been working with them for a few years, and I was like, they were like, yeah, you should come up and hang out with us in Portland, Maine. I said, okay, what, when? And I went up there, and I was drinking Allagash White, which was the beer that got me into craft
Yes,
beer.
delicious.
And still, like every time I drink it, I'm like, wow, this beer is so good. And I was drinking it, and Rob Todd's over there drinking his beer, and I'm like telling him, like, basically, like, because that beer like changed my life. I didn't know where I was going before then. I knew that I liked writing. I knew that I enjoyed that, but I didn't know what like I wanted to do really in life. I was just like, I just had a job.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I wanted more, but I just had a job. And so I drunk that beer, and it's just like this moment of just like, almost like you're going this path, and it just turned me here. And then I was like walking into this new world, and I'm like telling him like, so beer changed my life. And he's just like nodding. He's all chill about it. Cause I'm like, well, how many people
You're like, no,
tell
no, no,
him
no.
that?
This changed my life. No, I need you to understand this.
I understood him in that moment. I feel like if somebody would come up to me and say that something I did changed their life, I'd be like, okay. And because it's kind of like, oh gosh, like I think it can be almost too humbling to know what type of effect you have on people. Like I'm someone who wants to do good. I want to help people. I get a lot of pleasure from that. One of my love languages is acts of service. That's my thing, but I want to know that I helped you, but you changed my life. Oh man, that's heavy. That's heavy. So I understood. Like it was fine. I was just like, okay, well, I said it. Got it out. He knows now. But yeah, that whole trip was a very much pinch me moment. To see the things that they've been photographing and sharing on their social in person was wild. It was wild. And the people there are so genuinely kind and Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
Then I was like, I'm doing the right thing. If this stuff like this is happening, if that's not a sign from the universe, I don't know. I don't know.
yeah. It's Kimbry? Is it Kimbry? Smith.
Kimmery.
It's Kimmery. I'm getting
Hmm.
everybody's Kimmery. She's still with Allagash?
Hmm.
Okay, that's awesome. So did she's in Portland or she's like
She's
virtual?
here. Yeah, she's I forgot what her title is, but she I know she helps put on events that help celebrate Allagash here in Atlanta. I think she
Okay.
does some like oh, I don't want to get it wrong, but she's like almost like an ambassador for
Mhm.
them. Kimmery, if you're watching and I got that wrong, I'm so sorry. I'm so
No,
sorry.
no, I brought it up. It's all my fault because I was thinking. I said I hadn't seen anything as far as her riding her bicycle because that's why I usually
Oh
see her
yeah.
doing that. So I was like, well, when did she move? Had to move. So there, that's
No,
why
she's still here in
I was
Atlanta.
being curious and nosy.
Hmm.
Um, so what beer style would you say represents you the best?
I check Dark Lager, man, all day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's easy. I love that it's the roast. I mean, I'm a black woman. Roast. I love like dark, and not to equate like just because you have dark skin, you're like deep and like have all this nuance. But I feel like I'm deep. I think people have perceptions of me, but might not. They don't actually know who I am and what kind of person I
Mm-hmm.
am. And that I think that especially because I share parts of my life online, so people make assumptions. But you look at it, and you might not realize there's all this character, especially if it's double decocted. I think about you, the human robot version. Oh my god, so good. But there's all these like layers and flavors. Like I have a lot of interests, I have a lot of hobbies, and like things that people might not think I'd be interested in. And I mean, I think beer, people probably look at me and not think that I'm into beer
Yeah.
if you don't know me from the beer industry. And let's see what else. And like, you know, I guess also because you have to have a lucre faucet to pour the beer. So like I have some needs that need to be met. You know, I would like I remember this woman saying that she wasn't high maintenance. She was like middle maintenance or medium maintenance or something like that. And I was like,
Mhm.
I'm not low maintenance, but I'm not high maintenance. I'm right there in the middle. So like, yeah, you're gonna need a lucre faucet to pour me. I come with special needs that I need to be met. So yeah, check dark lager.
Funny. So my last question is fill in the blank.
Mm,
Being black in craft means.
that I get to be an example of what is possible in this industry, and that even though I can walk into a room and there will be no one that looks like me, that I belong there. And that by even being in that room, I'm showing someone else who's questioning whether they can be in that room. I'm like, yes, you can. You can. You can be in this room too. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, Stephanie. Thank you so much for sharing your stories, your honesty, and your passion. I really loved hearing about everything and your new venture. Please share with the audience your social media if anyone wants to contact you for work or just want to
Yeah.
see what's going on with you.
Yeah. So they can find me I'm mainly on Instagram at shelovescraft. I think that's the best. That's the most consistent place that I am at. I post there every week and posting my stories. I'm actually working on for any of the beer brands that are hanging out here. I'm working on a guide for helping beer brands with social media. So I already have one out for breweries. So if you have a beer brand and you are interested in getting some social media guidance, then I'm coming up with it. I've got to hire the virtual assistant first, but it's coming. And yeah, that's where I am. And then website is also shelovescraft.com.
Awesome. That's awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much, Stephanie. Thank you again for everyone who joined Being Black in Craft, where we don't apologize for recognizing our influence on craft beer. Happy Women's History Month, and good night.